Hi everybody, here's Sandy, our bearded dragon, and he's just going to be our celebrity bearded dragon as we do our videos during this time of closure and weirdness. So on Monday I tried to do a lesson where I brought together what was going on after World War II with Mao Zedong. So whenever you start, of course, with China, you have to go back to the Opium Wars and how that led to spheres of influence, and that's what the Chinese call their century of shame. We looked at Sun Yat-sen and Jiang Jiechi as capitalists, nationalists, and leaders that wanted democracy in China. Unfortunately, that's not how China went, and of course Mao Zedong gains power because during World War II, when the Japanese invade, he takes the peasants on a long march and he's able to gain their support. Last class, we talked about the Great Leap Forward and how he tried to industrialize by having people basically melt down all of their metal objects in the backyard, and unfortunately that didn't really work out very well, and people made very poor steel, and they didn't make enough food, and 30 million people died of a famine. Then, of course, Mao doesn't say, oh, that was wrong. He just moves to the Cultural Revolution, which is the focus of this lesson. The Cultural Revolution lasts until Mao's death in 1976, and his primary supporters are a bunch of teenagers called the Red Guards, who in many cities use propaganda and quote from Mao's Little Red Book all of his sayings. People join communes even more during this time period, and a lot of bad things happen. In 1976, Mao Zedong dies and Deng Xiaoping comes to power, and he's going to modernize China, and he's really responsible for why we get the made in China today. But Deng Xiaoping's for another lesson. This is just giving you an overview. So Mao's propaganda was everywhere and it's legendary. If you look at this, you'll see Mao very big, you'll see an abundance of food underneath him, and it says, turn China into a prosperous, rich, and powerful industrialized socialist country. Wow, what a mouthful. Under the leadership of the Communist Party and Chairman Mao. Okay, this is 1954, so we're heading into the Great Leap Forward. Here you see Chairman Mao gives us a happy life in 1954, and you see pictured very prominently on the wall is a picture of Mao Zedong. Everybody looks happy, well-fed. They're still wearing their own personalized clothes. You see the propaganda change when people start to wear more of like a military uniform, when he forces everyone to look the same, and that's more later during the Cultural Revolution. Warmly loved, Chairman Mao, 1955. We're kids, we love Mao. The sunlight of Mao Zedong thought illuminates the road of the great proletarian cultural revolution. His head's big, he's got a multitude of different type of Chinese people, and they all love him. Proletariat, of course, means the workers. And of course, Karl Marx is the man who comes up with that term and uses it to celebrate who he thinks in society should be the top, and that's the workers. And so everyone who's not a worker, everyone who might be a thinker, is seen as negative. Comrade Mao Zedong is the greatest Marxist-Leninist of the present age, 1969. So if he's the greatest, no one else can be. Long live Chairman Mao. Notice people are wearing some more similar clothing, and they're all carrying the Little Red Book, which was called the Little Red Book, but was really called Chairman Mao Zedong's Book of Quotations. Warriors love reading Chairman Mao's book most, 1966. The Happy Journey. Notice Mao's taller than all of the Navy soldiers here, and he's talking to them, and they just love him. Reporting to Chairman Mao, abundance of food, the kids are happy, 1974, everything's great. The working class must exercise leadership in everything, 1970. And so the great proletariat cultural revolution is mind control through propaganda and through the Red Guards' influence. The Cultural Revolution wanted to get rid of four things: old customs, old culture, old habits, and old ideas. Everything old is bad. Everything new is good. This man is going to talk about being part of Mao's Red Guards.
There was a famous hair salon. It displayed photographs of all kinds of hairdos. When the Cultural Revolution came, they were seen as examples of bourgeois decadence. A group of Red Guards took over the place. We said to them, when the revolution starts to dictate the style of people's hair, clothes, and shoes, isn't the revolution being trivialized? Temples and shrines were ransacked. Despite official designation as cultural treasures, many irreplaceable objects were destroyed.
We were told to assemble at the Central Art Academy. Old sculptures from the Tang, Sung, and Ming dynasties were piled in a heap. Also statues of David and the like, the kind used in drawing classes. The rebels were full of themselves. They struck poses as they smashed everything. They lit the pile and made us stand around it. It was one of the hottest days of the summer. The flames rose 100 feet. They ordered us to get down on our knees. They sang and they kicked us, forcing us closer to the flames. What did it look like? Cannibals in a song and dance ritual, about to cook their captives.
Were there any rules for wiping out the four olds? No, the kids made them up. So a lot of things went wrong. I was against much of that. But there were also things that, though I think they're wrong now, appealed to me back then. I have to be honest. For example, Christianity. At the time I thought what happened was great. Why? Because the imperialists had bullied China in two ways. One was with guns, like in the Opium War. The other had to do with spiritual opium. The priests and nuns never did anything good. They were part and parcel of cultural imperialism.
The Red Guards searched the homes of officials of the pre-revolutionary government, former landlords who now lived in the city, former capitalists who had long since given up their assets. The local police asked the Minister of Public Security if the Red Guards should be stopped. No, that would be unwise. Give them the names of known reactionaries and keep out of their way. Those rounded up were made to write self-denunciations. They wore names on their backs: capitalist, landlord, criminal, pervert. Many were driven out of Beijing in the name of purifying the revolutionary capital.
We knew our home would be a target sooner or later. We fit the category. My parents had both been capitalists. Finally, one day, the Red Guards came charging in and turned our house upside down. It was terrifying. They forced my parents to kneel and beat them.
The search has uncovered all kinds of things. House and land deeds, gold and silver, and old official appointment certificates. They were even hidden in the walls. There was a fellow.
So what I'd like you to do now is stop the video and read The Night of the Red Guards and then come back to the video, and then I have some questions for you. So when we look at the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, they have some ideas that have a purpose, details, and impact. The Great Leap Forward's purpose, of course, is to industrialize and grow more food. The details are that all metals were burned in backyards and communal living and farming increased. And the impact is that the steel was of poor quality and 30 million die in a famine. In the Cultural Revolution, the purpose is to change people's thoughts and to force a sense of equality on everyone. It includes the Red Guards, propaganda, quotations from Mao's Little Red Book, and the destruction of the four olds. The impact is really a lost generation, famine again, fear, and death. And so what we're looking here is for you to go back onto Google Classroom and try to capture what the Cultural Revolution is all about. Let me know if you have any questions.